Hello, everybody. I have switched modalities to I'm on my computer now, and I am giving it a moment. All right, here we are. Okay, let's see what happens. Live stream. The Capricorn full moon divine feminine astrology reading. I tried twice on my phone and it kicked me off both times. Not enough internet, it said. Well, my internet is just fine. So I hope you all find me. And whew, I feel like I need sage. Um, oh, grandmothers and grandfathers of all the directions, the east, the south, the west, the north, the up above, the down below, and the I am within. Hold us here in the center. Let the planets speak. Let's listen. What's going on? We are now exactly 2 hours from the exact moment of the full moon at 2:40 Eastern Time. At 3:28 Cancer, the sun, and the Capricorn moon is at 3:28 Capricorn. So I'm going to call this an integration moon because we have had the lunar eclipse a month ago and the solar eclipse, and then we've been through the solstice, and it's time to integrate. And Capricorn moon is a great space for integrating, just as Cancer sun is, because Capricorn is grounded. It's about structure. It's about all things Saturn. Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn. So we can tap into our Saturn energy of this moon, and we can say, help me at the cellular structural level, in my very bones, in the organic, physical, embodied place. Integrate the energy of the past 6 weeks. So this moon is here to help us do that. An embodiment moon. And Cancer, excuse me a second, Cancer is the sign of placement, home, where we feel nourished, nurtured, and like we belong. I could use the word safety, but safety is fraught. We feel safe. The point is, what we want to cultivate in our lives is feeling safe wherever we are. To find that safety, that grounding, that inner home that allows us to hold our center no matter what's going on around us, whether it's eclipse energy, political energy, family energy, triggered energy, because we are growing and changing and outgrowing things. I'll bet you've all experienced a lot of that the last few weeks. I have. So here we are. With this moon, we can integrate and ground in. And it's happening in the daylight, at least where I live. For some of you, I mean, it's happening all over the world in about 2 hours. So for some of you, it's wintertime and you're sleeping. And for some of you, it's high noon and the sun is shining. Uh, wow, there's a whole lot happening. I'm going to show you the picture of this chart. The moon is sweeps here. Whoa, which way do we go? The sun is here. This is a backward screen from my phone. And all the action is over here. And there's a whole lot of flow. There's a there is a what we call a T square between the sun and moon. And wait a minute, what is that? No, it's not between the sun and the moon. That's another formation. It is, I've got too many lines on this thing. There is a grand square, a grand cardinal square between Haumea. Haumea is the planet who's rising, and I don't often talk about her, but I'm going to talk about her today because in the chart that I'm looking at where I live, Haumea is rising. That would not be true around the world, but I get to go with what I've got here in Searsport, Maine. So Haumea is rising at 26 Libra. Venus is at 27 Cancer. Eris is at 24 Aries, and Pluto is at 26 Cancer. So we have an opposition here between Venus and Pluto at this moment. And Venus and Pluto is the divine feminine going deep. She is on her way into the underworld. This is Pluto calling Venus, Inanna, Isis to the underworld. And all of these goddesses have a myth that involves the underworld. With Venus, it is the depths of the ocean, where she took her son Cupid into the depths of the ocean to escape and to not really to escape, but to ride out the great battle of the gods and the titans back at the beginning of the world, and thus saved the world. She was able to take all that is beautiful and abundant and life-giving and life force and sensual and feminine and say, y'all fight it out. We're going down into the deeps. Where we are going home into the ocean until you're done. And then she is equated with, Venus is equated with Inanna, who makes the underworld journey to visit her sister Ereshkigal, the queen of the underworld. And Pluto, of course, is the god of the underworld, and he keeps popping up. He comes up to feed on, to call in the feminine in the form of Persephone and bring her into the underworld, which is a part of her initiation and integration into her wholeness. And he is seeking wholeness. He is seeking the light and the life of the burgeoning springtime, the energy of life, the maiden, the beauty. He needs that in the underworld to keep going. The underworld, basically, these are all stories of how the shadow and the underworld, the depths, the unconscious, integrates with our physical, breathing, sunshine life. And this moon, the full moon, is the brightest orb besides the sun. It is when the moon is opposite the sun and is reflecting back. The moon at her new phase, and she's just gotten through taking the sun through an underworld journey because she eclipsed the sun. She blacked out the sun 2 weeks ago, and now she's back in her first bright fullness in Capricorn, and she is reflecting all of the sun's light back to her. And it's a supermoon. So the moon is appearing bigger and even brighter. This has to do with the moon's elliptical orbit. There's a scientific reason for this. But energetically, we are getting more of that sun's reflected light at the moment of this full moon. So this cardinal square is helping us integrate. And what do we have? We have Haumea rising, Haumea opposite Eris, and square Venus and Pluto. Haumea is the Hawaiian or the Polynesian goddess of creativity, fertility, abundance, and plenty. She is the mother and grandmother of all the divinities of these Polynesian people who lived on islands in the Pacific Ocean and who traveled the ocean. They had boats, they were seafarers. Excuse me, my voice is wanting to be caught here. That's very interesting. Um, I don't know if I can mute. Let me see if I can mute without screwing everything up. I think I'm muted. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. I'm going to try to get my voice back for this. Now I'm muted. And now I'm not muted. Okay, good. Haumea, these people who traveled the ocean and could travel the ocean by reading the waves and the currents. They could read the surface of the ocean the way the rest of us learn to read the landmarks on land. And they also could read the stars. They understood the relationship of stars to the points on the earth. And their supreme number one goddess, their creatrix, creator goddess, was Haumea. And so she had thousands of children. And she is part of this square between Venus, Pluto, and Eris. Eris is the goddess of discord and chaos. And she is one phase. She is the essential phase of creative energy. Nothing comes into being without passing through chaos. The sense of where everything is shifting from expansive void, the raw material of creation, and going through this chaotic rhythm where everything's getting all mixed up and it's going to rearrange itself and come into form and begin to make sense and begin to work. And this is true, any creative process, the cosmic creative process, Big Bang assorting itself into galaxies and planets and suns and all of the beings who live on these planets. Birth, the phase that we call transition, where the rhythms change, the cervix is open and the baby is getting ready to be pushed through the birth canal. And there is a period of time, anywhere from a few minutes to a few hours, where it's just incredibly intense. It's wild. It can only be described as wild, where the mother she is in touch with her elemental creation, where anything could happen from birth to death. I have been awake to experience it twice. As an artist, I know that there is this chaotic moment where you think, where everything looks like a mess. And then at some point, you can see the artwork, you can see the piece, whether it's a tiny sculpture or a large painting like this one. And suddenly it begins to come together, or maybe it doesn't. Not everything makes it through chaos. The famous one that we love is when we discovered that the caterpillar creates the chrysalis around it and turns into goo. That's kind of an ultimate chaos. It goes from having a body to having no body. And then the butterfly gathers itself out of that chaos and eventually emerges. So this is necessary. This is necessary. Orgasm has this chaotic moment where the energy builds, and that in itself is orgasmic, and then it kind of coalesces and organizes itself around a center. and you knit yourself together with this energy that is mostly pleasure, but it can feel like so many things. So this is Eris. She's happening opposite. She is reflecting back to Haumea that she has a role, an important role. And a lot of times that means destroying something so that something new can be born, breaking something down, scattering the parts so they can be brought together again. We see this metaphorically over and over in art and literature and music. It's part of beauty. So this moon is happening. It is not directly connected, like it's not one of the four corners of this square, but the sun and the moon are both in the signs, the early part of the signs of this square. So that's one thing that's happening here. And and the invitation is for you to recognize this metaphor that has been given to you at the time of this full moon, that you celebrate wherever you are in the creation process, at the new moon, at the eclipse and the solstice. I have no doubt that you are pouring your intentions into uh, into that energy. You were pulling that energy into your life and your body and your ritual. And now at this full moon, you may be feeling the chaos of creation. What you want may or may not be here yet, but uh, the part of the power of creation and manifesting is having faith through the chaotic phase that it actually will work. Um, that everything is right on time and is unfolding as it ought to, as it is intended. So that's the gift of this square at the full moon. And then the other thing that's happening at this full moon, everything else that's going on is pretty much flow. Lots of blue lines over here on this side. So what do we got? The sun is connected to Jupiter. So this is a moment of abundance. This is a moment of good fortune, opportunity, an abundance. It's like the energy of expansion and abundance is here with you now. So tap into that. This is beautiful because my coach just gave us a lesson, some work around noticing when we're contracted and noticing how we can shift into expansion. So I'm just going to offer you those words to notice where you're holding. I talked over the last couple of weeks about Lilith and voice and how the jaw can be clenched, the shoulders tight. You can feel this fifth chakra all balled up. And Lilith says, free your voice, relax your jaw, relax your diaphragm, breathe, and let that energy flow through your throat. Breathing, speaking, saying the word, that's part of manifesting and creating. So that is a beautiful metaphor and a way of exercising, of recognizing where are you biting back your words? Where are you not letting your voice be heard? Where are you not speaking truth to yourself or to others? And at this full moon, Jupiter is saying, I will help you expand that. I will help you expand the channel, open the channel so that your voice can flow through. And then that flow of trine is actually even closer to the moon in Capricorn. The moon stands for intuition, emotions, and the moon with its cycles, her intuitive knowing, her waxing and waning, this sense of she helps us. She helps us create our inner calendar to know when it's time to shine and to know when it's time to go within. Um, she helps us mark that month by month by month. She moves. She is the fastest moving object in our charts. So she's hitting all the signs every 29 days. Um, she helps keep us in flow. And so Jupiter is saying, expand your capacity to feel. Trust your intuition. Let that channel of intuition open and flow more. Now, in a sign that's ruled by Saturn, you might think, intuition and Saturn, do they go together? Well, yes, because intuition is in the body. The body is an organizational structure that allows this vast spirit to function. Our soul, our spirit, our life force would just be the wind or fire, a supernova out in space, if we did not have the body to manage that energy, to express that energy, to ground that energy into the earth. So the moon is moving closer and closer to that opposition with the sun at the beginning of Capricorn. So throughout this full moon cycle over the next 24 to 30 hours, the moon is going to be in Capricorn, and we can embody our emotion. We can ground our intuition. We can feel. Tune into your gut. Tune into your belly. Tune into your bones. Tune into the earth beneath your feet. And if the emotions, especially as the moon, well, first off, the moon is right now over the hour after this is interesting. Usually, the second that fullness passes, like, let's say by 3 o'clock, I will be feeling, a relief. I feel this pressure. That could be why here in Mercury storm and this full moon energy, my internet wasn't working for, the first half hour I tried to do this live stream. It wasn't the internet that wasn't working. It was Facebook or my phone or something. So usually I feel instant relief. And the moon, though, is moving into an exact conjunction. It's 1 degree away from Pholus. Pholus is a planet where shit happens. Pholus, first of all, Pholus has a shamanic energy. He is the ritualist, the ceremonialist, the one who holds space for all of the centaurs. But he also, he uncorked a bottle of wine and created drunkenness and a big battle and a big problem. A lot of centaurs died. Chiron got his famous wound that would not heal. So the moon is going to bump right into Pholus, which means you may experience, rather than relief and expansion, well, you may experience expansion, and it may be wild and crazy and even painful or scary or, oh fuck, that's not what I wanted kind of expansion. So just realize that's part of this energy here. Chances are there's something that you will need to shed. Something will have to die. Death is not a bad thing. Death represents the shift. It's very much related to Eris and how in the middle of the chaos, things break, things fall apart, things ultimately will get swept away. So this full moon, as it expands your capacity to embody, is very likely going to bring up some stuff that will need to be swept away. And this could look like an argument with your partner, um, something you were counting on that falls apart, a disappointment, um, somebody triggers rage or anger or betrayal, a sense of betrayal in you, or perhaps you inadvertently or on purpose do that for someone else. Um, you find yourself in the middle of something that feels unpleasant, and just trust that whatever it is, it's absolutely necessary. And if you have done your work for the eclipse and for the solstice, and maybe set up some of this cleansing, you know, done some decluttering, done some inner emotional work around things that need to shift and move and go, then chances are you will be more ready for this, and it will be a smoother transition. You'll just walk through it and recognize it and say, yeah, I knew this was coming. This is over. This is overdue. But then the moon very quickly, by tonight, will move past Pholus, and it will just go through Capricorn, embody, 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 embody. So do your work. Uh, whatever Pholus stirs up, use your tools. Use fire, use herbs, use water, use drumming or rattling, use singing, dancing, moving your body, screaming, howling, speaking, and do it ritually. We can move so much ritually, and we don't even have to get into the content of it. You don't have to relive a problem, especially if it's something in your own energy field. So that's going on. You can anticipate that. And if it's something you've been cleansing, working on, my women who've had their Lilith astrology readings with me over the past month, during the eclipse time, you might see some of that work that got stirred up during those astrology readings start popping. And you're just like, oh yeah, now I see exactly how that's working, and I can just let that go. I don't have to keep clinging. I don't have to understand it. I don't have to help the other parties feel better or even be angry with them anymore, whatever is going on. So that's happening, sun and moon. The other thing that's happening with Venus, Venus is having, oh, there's a lot that's happening. I'm not even going to talk about all of it, but Venus is connecting to Algol and Black Moon Lilith and Sedna. There is a triple conjunction right now in late Taurus, which happens to be Venus's home sign, one of her two home signs. Venus is speaking, singing in close harmony with those dark goddesses. The Queen of Heaven version of her, who is looking across the sky at Pluto, is singing in a beautiful chorus with Black Moon Lilith, who is the feminine before patriarchy. When the goddess ruled, when we understood our relationship to her with purity and a sense of embodiment, a sense of honor and respect. And Algol, the demonized goddess. So we've got the goddess before patriarchy, that formless one becoming form without which nothing was created. That's Black Moon Lilith. The demonized goddess was what happened after patriarchy, when patriarchy said she is evil, she is a demon, you will get into big trouble, destroy you, and so we are destroying her. There was a sense of, there was an attempt to banish, and of course that's an illusion. We cannot banish the feminine. The feminine is keeping everything together in that sacred relationship to the masculine. That is just the way it is. There would be nothing without her. So recognize that this is a story we tell ourselves. This is a story we have been told, and to the extent that we think it is true, it rules us, and so we fear it. We fear that dark feminine part of ourselves. We fear what will happen when she comes back. We fear what we have done. We fear how we may deserve her wrath. We fear being destroyed by her. And there we are. This brings up, that Eris energy, that Pluto energy, that Pholus energy of the shit can hit the fan in a big, big way. So Algol and okay, they are singing in close harmony with Venus and hooking in to a flow with Pluto. This destruction, death and destruction and transformation and rebirth energy is happening with the Pluto and late Capricorn. This is it's in the world now. This is the moment the patriarchy has been terrified of for 5,000 years, that she would come back. And she's back. She's back. They are merging their energies right now. Black Moon Lilith, Algol, Sedna, who is another creatrix. She is another seafaring people, the people who live in the tundra and the ice, the Inuit, the people who live at the Arctic Circle. Their creation goddess lives under the sea and gives birth to all of the animals of the sea that they hunt in order to live. So Sedna has a very potent myth. And I'm not going to go into it right now, but just recognize that there is another dark creation goddess who was banished, and in her banishment became the goddess. In her destruction became the one who creates life. So that's going on. And then they are all connected again to Pallas Athene in Pisces. Pallas Athene is intellectual strength, strategy. It's often called a wisdom, but I believe that wisdom is more of an embodied thing. And yet, to the extent that wisdom uses the power of our minds, it is the appropriate use of our mental faculties, not to make us crazy or to judge ourselves or to perseverate in shitty beliefs, but to recognize, yes, I can work with this. I can think through this. I am capable of solving problems. I can make sense out of this. I can express myself. I know who I am. These are all aspects of the intellectual faculty of our. It is an integration of masculine and feminine energy to use the intellect, the power of decision, the power of discernment, the power of strategy. And it's connected. She is connected to all this dark, divine, feminine energy, as well as the light, divine, feminine energy. And then we have Mars connected to the asteroid Lilith. Mars is in Leo. Mars is masculine energy, on fire, decisive, ready to protect and defend, ready to be the aggressor, the one that steps out in action, that takes aim and moves towards that target. um, the one that is hyper focused, and he is connecting right now with the energy of the disowned feminine inside of us. The disowned feminine at a planetary level. And so we can read that two ways. We can read it as he is activated and on the attack to suppress. Well, that is absolutely going on. But within each of us, he is the defender and the protector. And he is saying to that disowned feminine, I'm waiting for you to wake up. And no, in fact, he is not waiting. He is not a waiter. He is marching towards her, saying, I am holding the space right now for you to wake up. It is safe for you to be here. That is how I choose to read that for us inside of ourselves, because we cannot use that energy to contribute to our own suppression and oppression. We cannot look at Mars with his sword and his fire and be frightened and recoil from it. I'm in an interesting place right now. I have 3 men in my house. My son, my partner, and my partner's friend who's come to stay with us a bit while it's a vacation or a ship. I don't know how long he's going to even be here. Plus, I have 2 boy cats. I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed. So this message to me is stand my ground, hold that feminine space among all of this masculine energy. And invite them to serve me. Because what masculine energy thrives on and feeds on is nourished by, not feeding on in a predatory sense. Although patriarchy has kind of perverted it sometimes into a predatory sense, patriarchy has given masculine the permission to be a predator. And we can feed that by allowing ourselves to be prey, to be subservient, to not take up our expansive divine feminine space. So when we take up our divine feminine space, and I think this is the crux, this is the point of this whole reading. Thank you, Cosmic Crone, for helping me get to the point. When we take up that space and embody it, root it in our body, but realize that it is so big and we are so big, then we can invite that masculine energy, seduce it if necessary, to serve us. Protection, defense, energizing, bringing it, literally, metaphorically, bringing that masculine energy to fertilize our expansive, creative womb energy. That's what's available to us in this full moon happening right now. So I am going to close with that. I think we have found what we came for. Thank you so much for listening. And I will check into comments if you have any questions or anything you would like to say. And definitely come over to the Womb Wisdom Portal. If you're not a member, we will have more conversations about this over there. Thank you so much for being here. Blessed full moon to you. Bye-bye.